He's the most memorable winner of Project Runway, but Christian Siriano has done so much more after that. And you have your show on Saturday for Fashion Week, New York City Fashion Week.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy week, but a fun one.
Well, we appreciate you coming in. I want to jump right in and talk to you about the fashions for Fashion Week. I mean, what is it that you're excited about for your show, and then what are some of the other things people should look out for Fashion Week?
Gosh, I think, you know, it's always interesting. I mean, you know, what we show this season is 6 months ahead, so it's kind of like won't be in stores for quite some time. So it's always like, how do you think, how do you kind of plan for that? It's always very hard. But I think what's exciting for me is, you know, I'm showing my 10th collection this season, which is really great. It kind of marks my, you know, 5 years in business, and you know, for a young designer, that's important to, you know, keep it going. And a lot of work, a lot of pressure. But I'm really excited. It's you know, it's fall. We show fall right now, which is always an interesting process because it's spring is kind of trickling into the stores, but we're showing a fall collection. So it's very interesting. But my collection, I think, is very quite glamorous and a little bit dark. But so I think it'll fit the mood.
Okay, so what pieces would you say when you say glamorous and dark? What would you give me a description of something?
Well, I mean, my collection has a definitely, you know, this kind of Russian opera kind of backstory undertones. Quite an intense story. I won't get into it, but so the idea of that is, you know, the collection has this opulence to it. So we have a lot of beadwork, and you know, the evening is a little bit, you know, we have a lot of metallic brocades and color. So that was really important. The kind of dark moments that we have, of course, it's fall, so we have some great, you know, black cashmere coats, you know, some beautiful faux furs. So it's kind of like a whole range of the world.
And when you look ahead 6 months ahead, what do you expect some of the fashion cues to be?
I mean, you have to really think about, okay, what would my, you know, my woman or my customer want, you know, for fall after she's done with this spring. You know, her spring moment is over. My spring collection was very, very light and feminine. So that's what's going into stores now. So you kind of have to think about, okay, if she's done with this sweet story for spring, maybe she wants to be a little bit edgier and powerful again for fall. So that's kind of what we think about. So a lot of the shapes are pretty strong. But a lot of also my collection is a little more streamlined. I think a lot of designers are going in that kind of a little more modern, minimalistic movement in a way, but still sexy, still has to be glamorous in that way.
And what are some of the tips that you give to women that want to be ahead of the curve 6 months from now?
It's tough. You know, I always have to say that, you know, the biggest thing is you have to really push yourself. I think, you know, when we have customers coming, I just opened a new store down on Elizabeth Street, which is such a learning experience because, you know, we have customers come in and they're a little bit, I mean, maybe timid, and you really have to push them. I think that's the way that you kind of...
You mean to take risks?
Yeah, take risks. I think that's the important thing, especially now. There's so many brands out there. There's clothes. You can get clothes, you know, at a great price. So I think you have to really, yeah, push your boundaries. I think that's what's fun about fashion. You can really just, you know, have fun with it. That's the whole point.
And so now you have a new store.
Yeah.
We talk so much about the business.
Yeah, it's important.
What have you learned in the process of opening a store?
Whew, so much. You know, the direct-to-retail business, you know, working with a wholesaler, you know, like a Neiman Marcus or a Nordstrom, where we do sell, which I love, and it's, you know, such a great experience. But having your own space is so different because you really learn so much about your customer that you just wouldn't realize. You know, I'm direct with my manager every day, telling me what people are asking for, what they like, what they don't like, and sometimes what they don't need is more important, because sometimes, you know, as a designer, I'm just trying to be creative, but, you know, we have to always, you know, you always want your customer to feel happy in something new that she needs.
One of the interesting and fascinating things about people that really break out on reality shows is it becomes a blessing, but also a bit of a curse. I had Kelly Clarkson on the show, and I asked her, would you still be as prominent as you are now if it hadn't been for American Idol? And she said, you better believe, yes, I would have, because I didn't want to do anything else.
Yeah.
What about you?
I know, that's the interesting thing, because I think, you know, yes, Project Runway was a great experience, and I, you know, totally appreciate everything, but I think sometimes what happens is I think people set you in that one place. But again, I mean, I had just graduated college in London. I worked for Vivienne Westwood and Alexander McQueen, which are two of the biggest designers in the world. I probably would have been able to keep a business going at some point, but definitely it would have been maybe a bit different and taken a lot longer. So that's why I never say that you can't ever be negative about a show that you're on because you made that choice and that's what happens. But my point is that you always have to take it and kind of move from it. And I think that's what I've done.
Especially in this industry where if you're America's top model and then you go out and try to actually become a top model, you might get some backlash from people who say, hey, you know what, you made it on a show, but that doesn't mean you can really make it.
Yeah, I mean, whether we like it or not, I mean, all designers kind of have to prove themselves a little bit because it's a tough industry. And I think that's what I try to do every season is just, make clothes that hopefully women will want to buy. And I try to do it season after season, so eventually people will just, it'll just be about the clothes, which is what you want.
Okay, so looking ahead, what can people expect from you? How are you going to make it so you're still here 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a tough thing. I've been really lucky to have a business where my collection hangs in some of the greatest retailers in the world, and which is amazing, and I want to keep those relationships. But I think I just have to push myself every season. I have to try new things. Hopefully women will love it and buy it. That's always the most important thing. And I think I'm pretty open-minded. I think that's a big part of the industry now. It's a very different world. The consumer is at all levels, mass, high, low, wherever she is. I think I try not to alienate them because I think everybody should have a little bit of fashion and a little bit of my brand.
All right, Christian Siriano, thank you so much.
I really
and to catch more, follow him during Fashion Week. Make sure that you share this video with all of your followers, and I'm sure, Christian, you will, and I will too.
I will.
All right.
Thank you.
With Christian Siriano, I'm Lee Hawkins. We'll see you next time.